Welcome to the Academic Decathlon, and thank you for serving as a speech judge. Each decathlete will be giving a prepared speech and an impromptu speech. Each scoring team will consist of 2 to 3 speech judges. Each team will be assigned to a specific classroom and will be evaluating one decathlete at a time using the Academic Decathlon Speech Scantron rubric. Each judge will evaluate the decathlete individually. The scores of the speech judges will be averaged together to form one score for each decathlete. Please be sure to time accurately for a fair competition and release decathletes on time. All decathletes must receive the same amount of time for each speech as long as they arrive at the start of their assigned schedule. Stopwatches or timers will be provided to time the 2 speeches. Each decathlete is allotted approximately 8 minutes in the speech room. 40 seconds for introductions and instructions, 4 minutes for the prepared speech, 10 seconds to set up for the impromptu speech, 1 minute for the impromptu speech preparation, 2 minutes for the impromptu speech, 10 seconds to thank and dismiss the decathlete. Judges will have approximately 2 minutes to score both speeches and prepare for the next decathlete. Note cards may be used, but speeches should not be read from them. Gestures are acceptable, but props or costumes are not allowed. The speech must be given while standing, unless a condition prevents this. The speech must be researched, written, and delivered by the decathlete. Under no circumstances may a judge ask a decathlete what school or area he or she is from. There is no penalty if the decathlete reveals where they live or what school they attend. There are specific guidelines regarding the length of the 2 speeches. If either the prepared or impromptu speech is not within the proper time limit, a time violation must be recorded on the Scantron by all the judges. The judges may discuss a decathlete's performance after the decathlete has left the room and all judges have completed their Scantron. But each judge must take responsibility for making up their own mind. No judge should be responsible for the other judge's scoring decision. Teams of speech judges are not to reach a consensus regarding a decathlete's performance. Each speech judge must score the decathlete's performance independently of the other judge's feedback. Judges are not to applaud or provide any written or verbal praise or recommendations to a decathlete's speech. When you first walk into the room, if it isn't already set up, you'll need to do so. Basically, you're going to have 3 to 4 chairs at one end of the room for the judges. Then you're going to measure 10 feet from where you'll be sitting and put an X on the floor. That's the designated area where the decathlete's going to start their speech. Remember, it's 10 feet from the judge's table. You're also going to have to set up an impromptu table over on the side somewhere where you can put note cards, pens, pencils, and impromptu topics for the decathlete to prepare. We'll get to that in just a little bit. Desks may be used in place of tables, and tables may be used in place of desks. Look to make sure the decathletes are not facing a window or door that could distract them from their presentation. We don't want other decathletes poking their head in and distracting them. Judges, be sure to check that the proper information for the decathlete is completed at the top of the Scantron form. Be sure the decathlete's name and ID are correct for the decathlete entering the room. This is critical information and must not be merely assumed that the information is correct. Be sure to include your first name in case we need to come back for clarification on a decathlete score. Select a speech judge who will collect the Scantron forms from all judges immediately after finishing the decathlete speeches and before the next decathlete enters the room. The judge collecting the Scantron forms needs to collate the Scantron forms so that they are all together for the same decathlete. Use a new Scantron for each decathlete. At scheduled times during the day, volunteers will come by to collect completed Scantrons and a copy of the decathlete roster to deliver to the scoring room. Judges, please be sure to include a copy of the decathlete roster with your completed Scantrons. Each speech room will be provided with enough rosters so each judge can have a copy, and a copy can be included in each scheduled Scantron pickup. The roster to be included in the pickup schedule must contain the length of the decathlete's prepared and impromptu speeches. Please also include any important points, such as a decathlete arriving late or leaving early, or any other critical information. The information you provide on the roster helps the scoring room if discrepancies arise. When it's time for a decathlete to give his or her speech, they will already be waiting outside the classroom. The room manager will invite the decathlete into the classroom and tell them to stand in the designated area.
Hi, Aca. Hi.
Hi,
Nice to meet you. Please stand in the center.
The room manager will then welcome the decathlete and check that the decathlete's information coincides with the roster schedule.
Welcome to the speech room. My name is Sahar Forzan, and I will be your timer today. I would like to introduce you to the judges. This is Jenny and Melinda. Please tell me your first name and your identification number.
my first name is Adam and my identification number is 7824.
The room manager then explains timing procedures and timing cards.
Thank you. You will be speaking in front of the room today. You will give 2 speeches, a 3.5 to 4 minute prepared speech and a 1.5 to 2 minute impromptu speech. I will give you a list of topics at the end of your prepared speech for your impromptu speech. During your prepared speech, I will hold up a 1 minute blue card when you have 1 minute remaining, a pink 30-second card when you have 30 seconds remaining, and a white card when 4 minutes has passed. Ready to begin?
The room manager starts timing when the decathlete begins their speech.
I could see the finish line. At the start of the final lap, the clock read 9 minutes and 2 seconds. I was closer than I had ever been to accomplishing the goal that had eluded me my entire high school running career. I had to run 400 meters in 58 seconds or better in order to break the 10-minute mark for 2 miles.
As a judge, we ask that you be courteous and attentive to the decathlete during their speech. They spent a long time researching and preparing their speech, and they deserve your utmost attention. Please don't do other tasks like eating or drinking. Also, please make sure cell phones are turned off when you enter the room. It's best to pay full attention to the decathlete when delivering his or her speech. During the decathlete's presentation, it's the room manager's responsibility to keep an eye on the stopwatch and making the decathlete aware of their time. When they are 3 minutes into their prepared speech, the room manager will hold up the blue 1 minute remaining card. When they are 3 minutes 30 seconds into their speech, the room manager will hold up the pink 30 seconds remaining card. And if time has expired, the room manager will hold up the white time has expired card.
Giving your all doesn't mean you are always the first to cross the finish line. Rather, it is the intrinsic reward of knowing you have lived life to its fullest that I have found is the ultimate reward.
Once the prepared speech is ended, the room manager will then give instructions to the decathlete about their impromptu speech.
Now is your impromptu speech. Over on the desk, there are 3 topics, and you have exactly 1 minute from the time you turn over the paper to read the topics and to prepare a 1.5 to 2 minute speech. I will call time after 1 minute. During your impromptu speech, when you have 1 minute remaining, I will hold up the blue card. When you have 30 seconds remaining, I will hold up the pink card. And when your time has passed, I will hold up the white card.
The room manager will start timing the impromptu preparation time for 1 minute once the decathlete turns the impromptu sheet over. This is a good opportunity for the judges to start filling in their score sheet based on the prepared speech they just heard. The room manager will end the 1 minute preparation time by announcing time. They will then ask the decathlete the question they chose and then collect the impromptu sheet from the decathlete for verification.
And that's time. Will you please read me your topic?
Describe your favorite birthday party.
And if you would like, you can take notes up with you.
I will not be needing any. Thank you.
The room manager starts timing once the decathlete begins their speech.
Now that I'm 18 years old, I think it's fair to say that I have been to many different types of birthday parties. When I was much younger, whoever had the most people at their birthday party was the most popular kid in school.
Just like in the prepared speech, it's the judge's responsibility to be attentive and judge accurately and fairly. Similarly, the role of the room manager is to keep track of the decathlete's time. When they are 1 minute into their speech, the room manager will hold up the blue 1 minute remaining card. When they are 1 minute 30 seconds into their speech, they will hold up the pink 30 seconds remaining card. And if the time has expired, they will hold up the white time has expired card.
But I would never trade in those memories of my birthday party for anything else in the world. My grandpa is still special to me, and I will always have those memories of my 16th birthday party.
Thank you for your time. You may leave the room now and continue on with the rest of your assignments.
Thank you very much.
Once the decathlete leaves the room manager will announce both speech times, prepared and impromptu, to the judges and also notify them of any timing penalties.
Okay, his prepared speech time was 3:56, and his impromptu speech was 1 minute and 48 seconds. No penalties.
After the judges finish recording their sheets, the room manager will then collect them from the judges.
Thank you.
The final step is for the room manager to place a new impromptu sheet face down on the impromptu table for the next decathlete. The room manager will invite the next decathlete into the room and the process will begin again. Be an objective judge and base your evaluation of the decathlete on the evaluation form rating scale and descriptors for prepared and impromptu speeches found in the Speech Guidelines Handbook. Treat each decathlete in the same manner. Be consistent in your individual scoring and have a fun time. Now, based on everything you've heard, let's watch a decathlete's prepared speech, judge it, and see how you do.
I could see the finish line. At the start of the final lap, the clock read 9 minutes and 2 seconds. I was closer than I had ever been to accomplishing the goal that had eluded me my entire high school running career. I had to run 400 meters in 58 seconds or better in order to break the 10-minute mark for 2 miles. With sweat running down my face and into my eyes, I could barely see my dad cheering me on in the stands. When I passed by him with 100 meters to go, the only words I could hear him scream through the commotion of the race were, "Go for it, Adam!" I stole one final look at him and sprinted like I had never sprinted before. As I crossed the finish line, I had just enough time to look at the clock to read a time of 10 minutes and 19 seconds. Immediately, I was overcome with disappointment. However, when my dad came down to the finish line, he did not look upon me with disappointment or humiliation, but rather gave me a loving hug and told me how proud he was to be my father. Steve Prefontaine, An American record holder in track and field once said, "To give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift." This quote has been the mantra of my father for as long as I've known. My dad, a former track and field All-American, had always acknowledged his gift. When he was just 13 years old, he ran his first full marathon, and by his senior year in high school, he had run the fastest high school 2-mile in the United States. He had instilled in my two younger brothers and I not only a great love for the sport of running, but the determination to do our best in whatever we do. It was easy to imagine myself following in my dad's footsteps and choose to run in high school. However, I quickly learned that I had bigger shoes to fill than I expected. In my first high school cross-country race, I finished 83rd out of 103 freshman runners. The difference in caliber of my running abilities compared to that of my dad's only became more evident as the season progressed. Though never said, it was clear that the expectations of coaches and teammates would be that I would display the same natural talent that my father possessed. My lack of natural athletic ability and the burden of others' expectations drove me to contemplate quitting the sport. However, my dad's mantra of always giving my best prevented me from turning in my running shoes. I didn't quit. I persevered, and in the process, I steadily improved. As I continued to focus my efforts on personal improvement, the expectations of coaches and teammates faded into the background, and I began to reap the rewards of my hard work. By the end of my senior year, I had won the award for the most improved runner. I was beginning to step out of my father's shadow and fully embrace a new paradigm of success. Success was no longer measured by comparing myself to my dad. It was in celebrating those small victories with each improvement I made. When I crossed the finish line in 10 minutes and 19 seconds, I was more successful than I could have ever imagined. I had given my best and had run my best time. But more importantly, I had not sacrificed the gift. The gift is life itself, and we can choose to go after life with gusto or take the path of least resistance. Like running, life is only as rewarding as the effort you put into it. Giving your all doesn't mean you are always the first to cross the finish line. Rather, it is the intrinsic reward of knowing you have lived life to its fullest that I have found is the ultimate reward.
Jack walked in the middle of the road. It was a cloudy fall afternoon, and he casually strolled in the lane of the oncoming traffic, relaxed and with a carefree attitude. I, on the other hand, walked cautiously in the bike lane. I was a timid 8th grader and had never made a random spur-of-the-moment decision to break the rules. I was shocked by this boy who was so different and revolutionary. It was almost freeing. Here was a person who wasn't afraid to swear, who wore his hair down to his waist and lived without the fear of what people thought of him. He looked over at me and rolled his eyes at the fact that I was too petrified to step out onto the road. But it was then that I saw the glimmer in his eyes, a spark I hadn't noticed before. He was perfectly happy. He seemed satisfied in a way, and he had the indescribable air of a person who thrived on the glories of just being. It was freezing outside and he wore shorts. It was rush hour and he walked without any fear. He was even enjoying the stroll as the cars rushed past him. "Aren't you afraid of dying?" I asked him. His bewildered look told me that my question was a little off the normal range of casual conversation. But nevertheless, he answered. "No," he said simply. "As long as I live my life the way I want to before it ends." His words of blissful truth would forever be stuck in my mind. And from that point on, I made the doors of opportunity open, revealing a path towards my new journey. I chose to embrace every moment before it passed by me. I ran for class president. I went mountain climbing. Empowered by Jack's words, I was on top of the world. I looked down at all the other people who were doing nothing with their lives. I had it all figured out. Or so I thought. There were moments where I was still waiting for something, waiting for my life to start. We always think we'll have more time, but sometimes we let opportunity pass us by. And before we know it, It's lost. I remember the night clearly. My friend gave me the news over the phone. The rain dripped down outside my window, breaking the silence between her voice and my tears. Chills ran down the length of my body. The air caught in my chest. My knees buckled. And I crumbled, imagining the speeding car that lost control and took the life of the young man in the passenger seat. My friend, Jack. I couldn't deem such awful news to be true, but I soon had to face the cruel fact that my friend had passed away. Time moved on, and I was imprisoned by the truth that I hadn't seen Jack in months, and I ignored Jack the last time he tried to speak to me. It was the only chance given to me to say goodbye, and I missed it. When I look back now, it's never the things I did that I regret, but the things I didn't do when I had the chance. I've realized something that I wish I'd known a long time ago. In the words of Abraham Lincoln, in the end, it's not the years in your life that count, but the life in your years. Thinking back to that fall afternoon, I now know why Jack stepped out onto that road with no fear. He knew one chance is all we get. One chance to laugh, to love, and to live. And now I too live for today, because I know that yesterday is gone and tomorrow may never come.